Our next session is a speaker session titled The Future of Payments, Scaling Real-Time Transactions and Reimagining B2B Payments. This session will highlight how real-time solutions like UPI are extending financial access to underserved regions while optimizing enterprise workflows such as invoicing, settlements, and supply chain financing. It will also explore how AI is enhancing fraud detection and payment optimization. Delivering this insightful session, we have with us Mr. Nalin Bansal, Chief of Corporate and Fintech Relationships and Key Initiative at NPCI. Over to you, Mr. Bansal.
Thank you. Can I get a mic? Just a mic or something will do. Okay, I'll go through it very quickly. Just a quick introduction. I represent NPCI, part of the business which manages relationship with fintechs and the non-banking segment. Some part of the team is here. I'm sure you would have met them. And I think some of you would have met me also. I think Dilip presented in the afternoon, or rather actually in the morning. There isn't anything new here. So actually asking Samir, do you want to continue with the presentation or you want to take questions? But we've got some stuff. I think what we've outlined here is our view of what payments is evolving to. What are things that we are working on? It takes our time, our nights, our days, our mind share, more importantly. Dilip spoke about credit. That's certainly a mind share. And a few other things that we are yet to solve, I think. The panel before was speaking about efficiency. Areas where efficiency is still not there. We feel that, and these are feedback that have come from the market. I think a lot of what we are working on are ideas that have been fed by all of you and not internally from NPCI. So moving on, I think these are the topics that I'll intend to cover. Just to keep it engaged, I think if you want something for me to elaborate or you have a question in mind, just let me know. I can stop because I don't think we have Q&A otherwise. So real-time payments, I know a lot of talk happens on volume, numbers we've achieved, but we truly believe there's a lot to be done, even beyond what we've done. B2B is an area we believe is still evolving. A lot of inefficiency continues in the B2B payment space. NPCI 3.0, what are we looking at from a tech point of view? Some innovation, our experiments with AI, whatever little we are trying to do. And of course, I think there was a lot of interest on international, so some update on where we are and how we are progressing. This is known, 170, 180 billion transactions. We hit about 500 million transactions a day now. Interesting fact, 50% of real-time payments are now in India, more than the contribution of population we have, which is 10%. But that's a great achievement, I think, for all of us to be in this space. Of course, other countries will catch up. They will catch up, they will be following us. We all know growth drivers for this have been the demand of the population here. They want speed, they want mobility, they want everything on mobile. I think that has led to adoption a lot. The inclusion, the financial inclusion initiatives by the government, by the regulator, has helped create so many accounts, and those accounts could be linked. Affordable banking, simplicity of the transaction, low cost acquiring, scalability of the architecture, and of course, a DPI approach. I think all of these are factors to this growth, but that's where it stops. I think this growth can only take it to a point. What next? And how do we continue to grow at some space? And what are the spaces that we are going to look into? Some thoughts, I think these are areas that you're working on right now. You would have seen some closed door launches in GFF last year. You would have seen people from NPCI talking about it in our steering groups, working committees. all of that. We are very bullish on offline. I think offline, not because there is no network connectivity. A lot of people talk about offline payments saying, कि अगर network नहीं हो तो क्या करेंगे? That's not a problem statement to that large extent that it needs to be solved between all of us here. But it's more about how can you make that experience slightly better. And today, you know, when you are switching 600 million transactions a day, settlement cycles become a challenge. You know, how many settlement cycles are you going to run? We run 8, 10, 11 cycles. How many more are you going to run? So the sheer volume of settlement is going to be so much. And therefore, offline payments, you know, really small micro payments can be done offline, which really don't require settlement, because that's real time. You're just forwarding a token from device A to device B. I think the great pilot that has come up on CBDC is giving us a lot of confidence, and more should happen in that space. So that's one area where we'll do a lot of POCs, experiments. We'll trouble all of you, make you do stuff that you've not done before. So hopefully that will pick up. Credit. I think really, really bullish about credit. We've seen that growth. We've seen that growth in the last 1 year. There's been crazy demand for credit on UPI. Specifically credit card, because CL is yet to pick up. And this, I think consumers are just asking wherever it opens up, whichever co-brand it opens up, whichever bank opens up, 60 to 70, 80% of demand is coming for credit on UPI. No matter how much we do, you know, feature phones are going to remain. And therefore, there's a lot of experimentation that we're doing with some of these, you know, dependable device manufacturers, where if we can create lightweight apps to drive feature phones. Vernacular, again, same problem statement. Despite people having smartphones, 700 million of them, maybe it will continue to grow. People still don't use apps the way it should be used. And we as a population are still very comfortable with voice, photographs, videos, then text. So I think a lot of work we are doing on how we can make payment apps more vernacularly driven, to the extent that, you know, we leave it at authentication. Authentication, of course, cannot be vernacular, but I'm just saying the whole process and the experience of it. And I think despite doing all this, can every person in this country have their independent UPI identity? Maybe not. Because as a society, we still have the culture of, you know, somebody managing the finances of the families. Elders being dependent on their children, children being dependent on their parents, and, you know, also many use cases. In B2B context, that's employers, blue-collar employees dependent on employers. So I think these dependencies will exist. And that's why I think in last GFF, we showcased the contextual, the delegate payment, which we believe is another space that can create more volume transaction digitization that those consumers are not able to do. So I think these are the 6 areas broadly that we are focusing on. A lot of you are already engaged in some of these pilots, and I think we'll continue to work till we are able to scale more use cases on them. Talking of use cases, again, like I said, while we all take pride in the fact that we're doing so many transactions a day, a lot of use cases are still not opened up. So just doing a very simple business consumer matrix, P2P use cases mostly solved. I don't think there is anything left to be solved in P2P. The P2M use cases largely solved, but there's still some spaces which are open. It's the B2B which is very, very open. You know, parts of it is solved. People are trying to find spaces in doing things with UPI, but there is no ecosystem-based solution, right? There's no formalized-based mechanism to solve for B2B. And a large portion of that are MSMEs, our SMBs, who will have a small team, 50 people, 100 people, 20 people. And how do we manage payments? Because otherwise they're using their personal accounts. So I think those spaces will continue to exist, and that's where we are trying to see if the same level of efficiency can be brought to such B2B and SMB payments. In P2M space, I think the open spaces we see are on single block multiple debit. This is opened up for investments, but I think there's a lot of demand from the market to open it up for commerce. So you can block a certain amount, order multiple items, and as those items are delivered, you can keep executing the mandate. So commerce companies are really, really excited about it, and I think that's a great use case for ensuring that payments are more programmable and digitized. Otherwise, all of that is going on cash and delivery, by the way. Healthcare payments, somebody spoke about healthcare. It's a big one. I think a lot of ideas that are now coming on the table are, how do we solve for IPD and OPD payments? Mostly IPD, because that has a lot of inefficiency. Tokenization of financial assets. So the way we are seeing, there is tokenized currency and it can go device to device. Is there same technology space available for financial assets to move? Of course, ecosystem has to participate. SEBI, IRDA, RBI, everybody has to participate. But those are, technology experiments that are open, right? Otherwise, these are all API-based, and if you're partnering with Bank A or Insurer A, you can only do Bank A or Insurer A. You can't do anybody else. Of course, account validation and some of the non-financial use cases on the P2M side. Just a small insight, on the B2B. This is still work in progress. We're looking at how, like I said, solving B2B for UPI, using UPI, especially for organizations who cannot afford, million of dollars of ERP, and they have small, teams, but they want to give access to, say, 5 people in finance to make payments. They will end up doing RTGS or some inefficient way, or go maybe beg for a commercial card or something like that. So how can we solve for that, where one corporate account or business account can be operated by 5 people, let's say as an example. And then the second use case, where you can give it to a set of employees for making regular purchases for business reasons. So that's one, and then reverse payments to that, payouts, so a lot of connected use cases. Nupur is here. I think some of you must be attending her session. So she'll talk a lot about Bharat Connect and what we launched in GFF last year. And this is to make B2B platforms more interoperable and making the settlements between 2 platforms more dependable, I think. So that's the other effort that we are taking on making platforms. So while these platforms are there, but they're not interoperable, you have to be registered across multiple platforms to make sure that you as a supplier can supply, or as a buyer you can buy. You'll have to keep registering yourself. So opening that up. As in something on the tech side, like I said, we've gone through this journey. Don't go by the law, but basically we think that as NPCI, our role from being a product-led to currently as a platform-led will move towards more of an interconnected world. So as a network, we are not going to be in the midst of every transaction end of the day. A lot of this innovation will happen at the edge points, and we'll probably just be playing the role of a layer 1, layer 2 infra provider. So I think that's the journey. What it means is that we are somewhere in between, wanting to go on the right-hand side. We're currently running open source technology right in the center of every transaction, settlement. But like I spoke about, token A to device A to device B, where the real-time settlement happens, there is no need for settlement process. And therefore, we create that standard and that layer so that tokens can be created, but they can be managed by the end parties themselves. And that's where the intent is. Whether we get there or not, we don't know. Our journey has started. Let's hope we get there. Some experiments, like I said, I spoke about on AI. I think small, contributions. So we, of course, we've set up a team which is doing graph analysis on some AI-based fraud detection. We've reached out to banks and some large fintech partners, largely to help recognize mule accounts before a transaction is made. So if the transaction is made to a mule account, how can you proactively recognize it? So I think these are some experiments we are doing. Some work we've done on license number plate recognition. Somebody was asking what are the use cases of it. So this is one where how can you use AI to better understand or read the number plate. And of course, some collaborative platform that we are running on credit scoring, customer segmentation, and few other pilots that we have started on with some of the fintechs. Yeah, so I think the current state, the future state, innovate and build protocol, tech stack and engineering, govern, operate layer 1, layer 2 infra, quality review and certification. We'll continue to have certification, sorry. And interoperability with existing platforms. So the platform where we will operate nodes will remain at the base layer, and then you have regulated bodies, institutions running on that platform, having products, and then, of course, you will have the front-end apps and users to transact and exchange. Last slide. Somebody was asking what's our status, how are we progressing. So I don't know if Give is giving you a lot of information or not. So broadly, 3 approaches. There is an approach where the full country is going for either RuPay or UPI. Second, or UPI-like deployment. Let me not call it UPI. Second, where we feel these are important segments or countries from an acceptance point of view because a lot of Indian travelers go there. And third is a remittance where a lot of Indians are already there and they tend to send money back. So the orange dots are where I think a lot of work is on the acceptance side. These are top corridors where Indians travel. Some of them are already enabled, some of them are in the process of enablement. So Ritesh and his team are focusing in making sure that as much as we can cover in whatever time we can cover, we will cover. Remittance are the corridors, the black dots, where a lot of Indians are already there. So those are predictable, Middle East, UK, and the incoming from domestic remittance point of view and how we are enabling those corridors from a remittance point of view. And the UPI-like deployment, now that's a big one, saying that those countries are going to adopt UPI as a standard or RuPay as a standard. The first one, of course, is UAE, everybody knows. I think Mauritius is next, and few other countries. So that's a slow one, but you can see a lot of green dots. There's a lot of effort going on to help those countries to deploy something like UPI or RuPay. Thank you. I don't know. Any questions, guys?
Yeah, so I have recently seen a lot of statistics on NPCI website, but just for out of curiosity, what is the highest TPS you have faced recently, like 40,000, 50,000, in terms of?
Do we publish that statistics?
Not in terms of TPS, but you publish all the transaction numbers. When it is like a peak.
So whatever we publish is what we can debate about, no? Or discuss about.
I'm just asking for the TPS, transaction per second.
I don't know.
Okay. And then second question is regarding, recently you might have heard the case in Chennai that one Pani Puri wala got a notice, a GST notice based on his UPI transaction, right? So a lot of merchants nowadays are hesitant when it comes to accepting UPI payment. So do you think now from the policy side, it should be like write-off payment that no one can
Number
deny?
one, that I have not read that news. Even if that's a news, it has not formally come to us as a complaint from any bank or any acquirer. And I'm not even sure because we are adding merchants every day. Currently, we're running like 100 million plus active merchants on UPI network, and that's increasing. There are more PAs, there are more merchants. So I'm not really sure if merchants are not accepting.
They are not, except in the sense like because it comes into a compliance, GST compliance and all, they basically ask us to pay in a cash. So something like, what I'm asking is there should be like a right of payment in the sense like no one should deny me when I want to do a UPI transaction, I should be able to do a UPI transaction. Merchant should not deny me that my right to do a UPI.
I think people don't want to pay GST. It's a different problem statement. So they should have the right of not paying GST if they want. But payments is a birthright, no, in that sense. How would you feel if you're not able to make payments? So,
So I just wanted to know whether, as we are having a wallet in the UPI for doing the reducing the transaction load on the bank side in terms of making the small payments.
UPI Lite.
Yeah, UPI Lite.
Right.
So is there any provision for providing the same kind of wallet at the merchant side? Because a lot of merchants receive the very small payment from the customers, and every transaction goes to their bank account, inflating the transaction cost to them. So whether there could be use case to create a wallet on the UPI Lite type of things on the merchant side also.
Great question if you ask me. But on the merchant side, there are two types of merchants. There are merchants which are what we call as P2PM, and they are P2M. P2PM is a diminishing number. Everybody is now moved to a P2M model. What does that do is that the money is not instant. It comes along with settlement cycle. So while you get the confirmation, online confirmation, whether it's a sound box or whatever it is, or a POS machine or whatever instrument you have, that the payment is done and you've got the money, but it's still not hit your bank account. It only hits with the settlement cycle or the cycle that you have signed up with your aggregator or acquirer. In many cases, there are merchants which are taking month-end billing. So that's programmable. There is no reason for the merchant to say that pay me every time a transaction comes. Merchants can go back to their acquirer/aggregator and say, okay, give me a 7-day payment cycle. Acquirer will be happy to do that. So they will get money as one block only in 7 days. Plus, but they will need the report because they have to reconcile with their billing. So that's important. So, but I'm just saying, the bank account will only show one transaction in 7 days then. So it's possible, sir. Yeah, I think we're done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nalin Bansal. May I please request Mr. Shrikant to present a token of memento to you, please? Thank you so much. Thank you.